Free is good, but it's not always as good, and I have to admit this was not as good. This is the little paraffin wax burner I showed the other day, and this is the smallest one. And I'm under the impression that these are smokeless. I haven't lit this one yet, but this would be my choice. The paraffin burner would be my choice, and I will tell you about the free one because I promised I would, but I wanted to have some results to share with you first. It cooked really well. I didn't go out there and open up the pan of chicken. If you didn't see that video, I just had a aluminum pan with 3 chicken breasts covered with a sheet of aluminum foil tightly. And I put that on the top rack of my gas grill and put a couple of burners, homemade buddy type burners on the, it's a little bigger than this one. This is a can of tuna fish, obviously, but a little bit bigger than this can. The larger size can of tuna fish can was my burner, and then I had a small one that I had sitting next to it. Free. I'll give you the free information in a minute. So at any rate, I had the 2 burners out there, and I put the pan on the top rack of my gas grill and put the burners on the bottom rack of my gas grill and closed it down. So there might have been that much room in between, and the flames were consistent and lasted for more than 3 hours. And there was only about that much fuel in the bottom of my big can, and it still lasted about 3 hours. So the chicken was more than done. If I had been ambitious enough and felt well enough, I would have gone out there and flipped the chicken over partway through because I knew it was getting overdone. It got a little overdone. It got a little too dark on the bottom. It's still going to be edible. I'll just heat it up with a little moisture in a pan in the house. But the thing that was interesting to me was a couple things. The trial that I did with heating water the night before, I compared that with heating water on my electric stove, and it was almost neck and neck. That was just with one burner. I think I just used one burner the day before. So my house burner on high was about the same speed as the burner I used. Now, let me make a disclaimer first, and then I'll give you the instructions. Because this puts off a tremendous amount of soot, it's not a really desirable method. I would not use any pan I cared about. I used a disposable aluminum pan. If I was going to do it again, I would keep that same pan, which is now covered with soot. I'm not going to bring it in here because it will get all over me, but just picture it black. It's covered with soot, and the inside of your grill will get soot on it. So we do have an older charcoal grill that would be ideal for us to use. It's not in use right now. So it will cover your pans with soot. It will cover the inside of your grill with soot. It was a nice hot flame. If that container had been full, I estimate that it would have burned for 5 or 6 or 8 or 9 or 10 hours or more, start to finish. Now, let's see, that was the disclaimer. It will get your pan full of soot. It will get your inside of your grill full of soot. However, it was a nice long burning flame, and it was free. That's the upside. I think if there's any more downsides. The other downside is that you should have a closed container for your food. It's not something you'd want to be making pancakes or anything like that with, where the food is out in the open, because there's some ash, and I wouldn't want to breathe the smoke either. I don't think it would be a good idea to breathe the smoke. So having said all that, the free part of it was, what I did was I had, a few days ago, I had saved some grease out of a pan. I don't know if it was roast beef or hamburger, and then a couple of days later I browned up about a pound of hamburger, which produced quite a lot of grease and fat, and I poured that. Actually, if you let it sit a little while, it turns white and waxy, and I just took a plastic nylon spatula and scraped all that out of the pan so I could wash it, and I just took the spatula and scraped it right into a can that was sitting there waiting to be recycled. And after I thought about it a little while, I was pretty sure it would burn. So I had this can with hamburger fat in it, beef fat in it, and then I took 3, like a paper towel roll cut about this tall. I took 3 of those. It was the larger tuna fish can, and so 3 of these cut pieces about this tall of like a paper towel roller or a toilet paper roll empty. I stuck 1, 2, 3, like in a triangle. I can't do it very well, I'm sorry, around the bigger can, bigger than this, right down into the hamburger fat. And then I took dryer lint and stuffed it in the hole, the middle center hole of each of those pieces of the roller. If you had a large, this hasn't been opened yet, it's a 1 pound can of ham. If you had a larger can like this, you could make a mega burner with probably 4 or 5 or however many you could fit of those rolls, and then shove the the dryer lint down into the middles of them, and then you could put some grease on top. The way that I think this would be an effective thing to use is if you placed, like the first night, I placed foil underneath my pan to protect it from the nasty smoke. So there are a couple things you could do. If you had a couple of these filled with fat and something to wick it with it, you can just do the buddy burner type where you take the corrugated cardboard. I don't know if you can see that now. Let me see if we can get light on it. That's a little better picture. You can kind of see the coiled up cardboard in that. You can use that to wick it with. But again, the way I think it would be useful, a couple things. I hope you'll tune in a couple minutes longer because I have something I want to say. I hope you'll bear with me. If you had a couple of these that were filled with fat, and then you had something to protect your pan with, and you had a cookie sheet or even just aluminum foil, something to protect your pan with, and had a grill, like a, no, what am I trying to say, a rack, like an oven rack. It would probably be really great for a canning pot if need be. Okay, so now let me back up a second. Why would you even want to fuss with something like this? If you can afford the paraffin and have it on your shelf, and it's only $2.29 for a package. I think I put that in the other room from the video. If you can afford the liquid paraffin, or if you have plenty of other fuel, lots of kerosene or lots of propane, kerosene, propane, charcoal, you have other cooking methods, you might not ever want to fuss with this. However, having grown up in a not totally poor household, I mean, my mother was educated and she had a decent job, but we never seemed to have 2 nickels to rub together. We were afraid to turn our heat up in the wintertime. The inside of my bedroom windows had ice on them. So having grown up in that environment, it was kind of a post-depression. My mom was kind of a post-depression child. And you hate to throw things away. Having said that, and I told you it smokes like crazy and you don't want to breathe it, and it will put black soot all over your pants. Having said that, having something is so much better than not having anything. And God forbid that our electric grid would ever go down for any length of time. But the thought of eating cold SpaghettiOs or cold beef stew or cold hash is just about more than I can take. And if you have to make a choice between something and nothing, I would like to have the choice to make do with something rather than trying to make something out of nothing, because last time I checked, you can't make something out of nothing. You can make something out of something, but not something out of nothing. So if I'm going to throw my dryer lint away and I'm going to throw my gift wrap rolls or your aluminum foil rolls or your, when it's done, or your paper towel rolls or your toilet paper rolls, but I'm going to throw those away. And you could even fold the cardboard rolls together and make them flat and store them someplace. If I'm going to throw those things away and myself or my neighbor could use that for fuel and the beef fat, it's tempting to me to keep it. Now, having said that, if you haven't gotten off this video yet, and it's pushing 10 minutes here, I appreciate your attention. Having said that, maybe I'll nail this in another video. It's not hard just to take your bacon grease or your beef grease or whatever and put it in a plastic, maybe a plastic ice cream bucket, or even a plastic food bag or something, and toss it in the freezer. And if you don't ever use it, you can pitch it eventually. But it would be so nice to me to be able to say to my neighbors, well, I only have a limited supply of these really nice paraffin burners, but I'd be happy to help you make some burners out of some fat I stored in my freezer, and that way you can cook your food, but you just got to be careful about the soot. I would like to be able to do that. I would like to be able to, there's a lot of things that take a lot of fuel to cook. I've covered that already in a different video, but some things take quite a lot of fuel to cook. Beans and rice take quite a lot of fuel to cook. So even though these last a lot longer than I ever dreamed that they would, and that burner burned and burned and burned and burned last night, and I overcooked my chicken because I was just trying to see, could I cook the chicken? You know, it was an experiment to see, will my free burner cook chicken? Yes, it will cook chicken. So it would cook beans and it would cook rice, and you just got to reroute your soot and not breathe it. But there's like 6 topics I'm trying to cover here, and I think I better quit. Here, but we haven't ever seen difficult times where you couldn't get your hands on things. And like I said, hopefully that day will never come. God forbid that day should come. But it's come in the past. And in the Depression time, fuel was in short supply. It was very hard to come by from the people I've talked to. And this thing is like magic. Even if you have old candles around, I don't know how much your candles will smoke. I think the paraffin is smokeless because the liquid paraffin is smokeless. I have liquid paraffin for my hurricane lamps. But I have some reject candles up in the cupboard. I've got quite a lot of candles in this house. It's very comforting to me to know I'm not getting rid of any of those candles, that I can melt them, put cardboard in my cans. I have extra cans, quite a few of these sitting around empty, extra empty cans waiting for cardboard and paraffin or wax or maybe even animal fat. It's very comforting to know now how long my fuel will last, and that between my kerosene and my propane and my charcoal and my paraffin candles and maybe my beef wax, not candles, burners, fuel cells, and maybe a couple of these, you know, that if I had a garden full of tomatoes that I wanted to can, that I would have enough fuel to do that. If you're going to talk about baking bread and boiling beans and boiling rice and running a canning pot, you could be talking a lot of fuel. And if your neighbors are scrounging around for sticks, there's only so many sticks around to be scrounged for, especially if nobody hung on to any of that kind of thing. So this has gone way on too long. I'll hardly have any videos that approach 13 minutes of the 300. There's very few that approach that time length. It's free. It works. I would freeze and if you're going to do it at all, don't screw up a brand new grill or a nice grill with it. Experiment. Know that it smokes. Know that there's soot. Freeze the fat, because you're not going to want to keep it at room temperature. It probably would mold. It definitely would go rancid. It probably would still burn. And now I'm pushing 14 minutes. So I'll just hit on this a little bit in future topics, but personally, with the amount of fuel I have stored, I'm still probably going to save my burger grease and toss it in the freezer. And there is another possible use for it, which I will cover in another video. 14 minutes over and out. God bless your efforts to prepare, make a list, and have enough fuel to cook it with. Thank you.